Belgium to Congo, turned it to hell. Rubber and ivory children fell. Britain snatched Nile, France took the West. Germany grabbed land like it passed a test. No language in common, just rule and divide. Fed us their flags, made us swallow our pride. They taught us to hate what we saw in the mirror. Now we pray to their gods just to feel clearer. Hey, we weren't even there. Split the bloodline. Yeah. Hey, names not our own. Waters like chains. Waters like chains. Still today, we carry the pain. Who gave them the right? Responsibility. Who let them rewrite? Not our bodies cold. Who drew the line? Through our souls. Colonial goals. What they stole, we'll reclaim whole. We are the story they tried to control. But memory's a drum and truth don't sleep. Our roots run deep where their cuts ran steep. Now we rise with fire in our name, burning their maps, reclaiming our flame. Burning their maps, reclaiming our flame. You carved us up. We rise again. One Africa. Yeah.
Muted. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another Alkebulan Awakening series in collaboration with Kenny. As always, and I say the Dataconomist as well, because Dataconomist is part of us. So, my name is Oladile Dozimu. I'm the founder of the emerging Alkebulan. And guys, for those who follow us and those who know exactly what we do on this platform, it's about decolonizing our minds and awakening our consciousness. African solutions within ourselves for Africa. That's what we're about. So welcome to this series. Undugu.
Greetings, habari gani, karibuni, asanteni kwa kuwa nasi. What is the news? How are you? Welcome, and thank you for being with us. I'm going again to focus on that introductory song. Who gave them the right? Who gave them the right? And then I'm going to say One Africa. That's going to be my focus today. Who gave them the right? One Africa, because I understand that that is how we're going to have power. So looking forward to the conversation for the sake of solutions to better our lives and to promote the well-being of all Africans from the south to the north. Or maybe the north, we will talk about that. But yes, you get the gist. All right.
Thank you, sis. Babajide, if you want to introduce yourself as well, please.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the podcast today. I'm from the Dataconomist, where we use data to cut through the noise, challenge assumptions, turn complex public issues into clear intelligence. And we always ask what the data actually shows, what it does not show, and why that distinction matters. And hopefully today we can cut through that and bring some good intelligence to you. Thank you for
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my brother. And our big sis, Dr. Khanyisile Litchfield-Tshabalala. For those who know you, I know we all know you. I know you don't like doing introductions, but let's say a few words.
He's about to call you Your Excellency, the Majesty of all majesties.
I honestly hope not. I don't know of any single ancestor of ours that lived pre-colonially that's referred to as Excellency and Her Majesty, and my God. Good day in South Africa to all our viewers. It's truly lunchtime. It's 1 o'clock now. Good day to everybody who has tuned in. We appreciate your time. We don't take it lightly. It's a Sunday midday. You could have been doing something else. You chose to be here. I just believe that it is by design that we are here. It's spiritual. It is a collective effort. And thank you to Kumbugeni and thank you to Imagine Alkebulan for providing the platform. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Thank you very much, my sister. And guys, like my sister said, you could have been anywhere else, but we're holding church here because we got away from the statutory religion. So this is for us. This is basically gathering, gathering of the brethren. We're gonna break bread on this platform. Okay, the topic today, and our big sister is gonna lead with this. Once our sister goes, and then we're gonna bring the data economist in to come up with the figures, and then we're gonna break it down. So the topic is, can Africa afford economic migration? Can Africa afford economic migration? Obviously, I put the facts and numbers. My sister, let's start with you.
Thank you, Oladele, and thank you to you again, and Ndugu, for indulging me on this topic. I think it's over 20 years now that I can't be located within a country. I could be given a topic to speak on Kenya. It will only last for 2 minutes and then it will quickly migrate to talking about the continent. So I scarcely look at issues isolated to a country. I always have the continental view. Can we afford economic migration? First of all, I don't even know what is an economic migrant in Africa. That's such a nonsensical term. And I don't buy into it because my thing is, since Ghana 1957, it's now 2026. We have been fighting the same battles. I have kids. My son has a granddaughter. So we are now 3 generations of mad people fighting the same struggles. And we still think that when things get tough in a country, it's okay to pack and go and look for greener pastures in the next African country. No single country in Africa is decolonized. No single country in Africa is economically viable at the moment. No single country has managed to entirely break free from the clutches of neoliberalism. No single country has produced multinationals who are African. We have not produced, I mean, even the machines that make the toilet paper we use, we import those machines. We might make the toilet paper in our countries, but where are the machines made? So for me, honestly, this is a continent at war. And I'm being told that because we're a continent at war, someone must look at a front which is not as hot as the front where they are in terms of their country and say, oh, I think I'll just go and work at Mug and Bean or Ocean Basket or at the university in that country and let this front of mine keep burning. Somebody else can sacrifice themselves and fight in this front. But when things are okay, I'll come back and want to partake of the liberation that would have been fought by these people I leave behind. It doesn't make sense. And I know when I talk like this, people say, oh, you talk from a position of strength because South Africa is doing okay. South Africa is not doing okay. People, we have failed municipalities. We cannot supply electricity to our people. We can't supply clean water to our people. Water is mixing with the sewage. The youth unemployment in South Africa is one of the highest in the world. Crime is high. Infrastructure is falling apart. People have war psychosis. They have fought and were made promises to that were never delivered. We are governed by a party that is so anti-black. I said in parliament, in the face of our president, the A in the African National Congress died long ago. They are just running a national congress in favor of whiteness because that African died a long time ago. So we are not doing okay. I'm not saying this from a position of strength, but guess what? South Africans don't leave. My sister Ndugu and Oladele and my brother. They don't leave. We were the smallest liberation movement in Africa. The struggle of South Africa was fought internally, more than by the guerrilla force. South Africans stayed here, fought it to the end. Now, when we say someone is an economic migrant, we are saying a Nigerian man currently can afford to be a migrant somewhere. Oladele, I take my hat off to you because we are fighting to go back to your country. Nigeria needs its men. Nigeria's facing war in 3 fronts currently. In the Niger Delta, the Igbo war forceization, the Boko Haram war. The country needs to come together. Clearly, the government is failing. Our countries need us. Why do we think when things get bad, the easiest impetus is to pack and go? I engage Zimbabweans and they tell me, oh, but the government is killing us. Who told you liberation was a chewing gum? Somebody's going to hand it to you on a bus stop, waiting for the bus. You don't even know each other. You're chit-chatting. And they are taking out their own bubble gum and they're saying, oh, yeah, do you want one too? Liberation is going to come with sacrifices. People are going to die. I don't know what Africans think we are doing, or I don't know where they think our struggle is at currently. We need to fight. We need to liberate this continent. You cannot ask your neighbor to liberate you. Zimbabwe has just extended Mnangagwa's term from 5 years to 7 years. So they are actually giving him an award, a vote of honor, a badge of honor. They're saying it is okay. You are ruling okay. A man ruling over a refugee population. They are saying it is okay. We shall just keep being economic migrants and struggling, and suffering and begging other countries to give us a space, but you can continue ruling us like it is your bedroom. So I think for me, I like this topic because I have the picture that is above for me. I'm looking at the eagle view, really, and I'm saying, no, this continent is not well. All of us, we are not well. All of us, we are struggling to make our governments account. And when those governments hit back, we actually need to stand back and fight. If Zimbabweans came here and they said, we are here to organize to topple Mnangagwa, guess what? I'll be the first to join that struggle. If Kenyans came here and they said, we are here to organize because we want a safe space to can think, we are here to topple our president, I'll join the struggle. But we cannot be here helter-skelter running to save our personal skins, my brothers and my sister. I'm not in agreement. I think it is from that perspective I said we should interrogate this topic. I mean, we are the worst of everything. People, if you go to Google, and I'm glad we have an economist, then you say the top 50 poorest countries, over 40 of those are in Africa, the top 50, these countries, I mean, we show up in negativity. Can we show up in positivity? But it's not going to happen on its own. It needs to be fought for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my sister. Thanks for the opening shot. Okay, the Dataconomist, Babajide. Yeah, floor is yours, my brother. Yeah, I've centered you.
You're muted.
Make it bigger?
Yes.
You're muted.
Yes. So sorry.
Do I need to make it bigger?
No, it's
when
fine.
he starts showing the numbers, yes.
It's fine. It's fine. I think the numbers obviously do speak for themselves. And I think Mama Khanyisile has first and foremost given us a very good overview of Africa as a continent and why we ought to sort of, in order to liberate our individual states, if I can use that language, we need to stay more focused and be more more patriotic in our dealings with each other and the country as a whole. Africa is a continent of about 1.5 or approximately 1.5 billion.
1.7, they say.
About 1.5 to 1.7. Okay, let's say 1.7 billion Africans at the moment, with Nigerian being one of the largest in population of about 231 or 233 million, depending on which data sets you're looking at. Now, if we look at South Africa as a case study in population growth, a case study in crime as it relates to the population, and the recent events that have triggered this debate around migration. When you look at those numbers, it's quite scary. And in this particular instance, I've used we decided to use South Africa as a case study, which would then help us understand what may or may not happen across Africa, because, you know, as we know, Ghana is currently frustrated about the issue. I mean, I don't want to use too strong a language there. Some Nigerians within Nigeria are also crying out for sanctions against South African businesses. And I'm not sure. I think, in Zimbabwe there was Mozambique rather. There was an incident recently where some organization lashed out at some South African women, asking them to go back to their country. So, in order for us to try and understand and put things into perspective, we put together this. I've put together this report that, you know, hopefully would help us understand migration issues in South Africa. What the citizens are complaining about, and why, or whether the complaint is justified or not. You know, once you see the figure.
Quickly, Babajide, before we go into that, just quickly, I wanted to say, because just regarding what Khanyisile is talking about, people migrating to South Africa, right? You have your issues in your country and your first thought. Myself, Oladele, I was in Kenya growing up, doing just fine. In fact, I had moved out of my parents' home and had a job, doing just fine. But my uncle, who was already in the States, calls my father, and he's found a school, and I get a call saying, come tomorrow morning, you have a meeting, an appointment at the embassy. And that's that, right? I can't question my father. They've already come together without letting me know. They've raised the money for the ticket and everything. So now I must do what my father has said. Why? Because the thought is in African minds that you'll have a better future here, there. You know, you can make money there. You can educate your siblings. You can send money home. You can whatever. So we are thinking of that. And as Mama Khanyisile was saying that, I was thinking to myself, and because we learned migration patterns in Africa and how communities lived. We have moved from the African way of, and she's right, we have moved from the African way of, when communities faced issues, people didn't move as individuals. Unless you were sent by the community to go search for places where they can settle, people didn't move like individuals. So this individualistic mindset is also bringing this migration thing where people are moving by themselves, people who, and especially, so if I know that South Africa has porous borders and the South African government is not checking papers, and by the way, the word goes around, people talk. I was able to get in South Africa, no one asked me questions. I was able to get a fake ID and all that. If I know that and I've committed crime in my country and I don't want to go to jail, or if I know that and I want to get into, and now I'm focusing on one area, that doesn't mean that I'm not mentioning the other areas. For those of you who are very quick to emotion nowadays and you don't want to open your intellectual capacity, just because Nduku is currently talking about the criminal aspect of migration does not mean that she doesn't understand that there's actually an innocent aspect of it where people are going to work. Because guess what? Nduku is a migrant as well. Nduku moved from her nation and went somewhere else to seek a better life. But we have entities who, when there's trouble, and it's interesting, it is very interesting because this hits home for me. There's things happening in my own personal life back at home that actually just support what I'm saying. I cannot speak to them. But when someone is a problem back at home, it is easy for families to send them away and not deal with them. It is easy for them to go away. And we don't even ask ourselves, because we're not thinking in Ubuntu, how is this person who's a problem to us going to affect the next people we send them to? We don't even ask ourselves that. And like I said, this is from personal experience, I'm speaking of this. So we now have become so individualistic. This person is causing discomfort to us. Let's send them away. We don't think about how is this person going to affect the people we send them away to. So, but going back to how we moved and I wrote down, imperialism and colonialism bring the practice of moving from one's people as an individual, as opposed to our way where we stayed with our community and together figured out solutions. We had reasons to move back then. There was drought. we had reasons to move. You had been attacked by, you were too close to a neighboring ethnic group and you could not exist together, so you had to move. Grazing grounds for the pastoralists. But the community moved as a community. And the community was responsible for how everyone behaved. We did not take vices to other places. We were still operating under the terms of agreement. So I say this to say that, and then the other thing I was going to say is during Nkrumah's time, he understood that the liberation of Ghana was not enough. The liberation of Ghana was not enough. Ghana could not just, they could not sit and celebrate. Oh, Ghana is free. Let's celebrate and build our economy. Forget the rest of the world, of Africa. We can continue Ghana. No, he understood that as long as the rest of the African nations, people who looked, because he had come to the US and he understood how we look is why we are being villainized, is why we are being exploited, the blackness of us. So as long as the rest of the black continent is not liberated, there's going to be problems. And Nkrumah has started learning by meeting with fellow revolutionaries elsewhere how imperialists move. And so he said, and he participated in the liberation of other nations. He's helping Patrice Lumumba. He's working with Egypt. He's working with Guinea. He's working with everyone to make sure. So my point being, when South Africans say, go back and fix your problems in your country, no, that's not what we did. We actually supported each other. We said as South Africans, okay, what is going? We're going to send troops. We're going to send some people. We're going to send some young men. I have read on this platform, on Kumbukeni, the book about the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, where Dedan Kimathi sends a letter to Uganda and says, we have heard about the, oh my God, Kabakas and them being taken down. And we, the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, are offering our men to come and support if it's needed. So that's how we operated. What has taken that away? But also, and again, this is the importance of this conversation being very nuanced. Also, we must understand what South Africans are saying, that people are moving into their neighborhoods, and unfortunately, that's the question we ask ourselves. Why are South Africans concentrated in certain neighborhoods and poverty is so prevalent in those neighborhoods? Why do South Africans, native South Africans, people, indigenous South Africans, Black South Africans, not in Cape Town? Why are they not in these other areas where they can spread out and they're not concentrated and poverty is not concentrated in one area? We're not asking that. And therefore, that situation becomes a very explosive situation because any other Black person, because it's about Blackness, any other Black person who comes in will be pushed there. Because again, it's about race and we're not talking about that. So it's a very nuanced conversation where we must hold our South African brothers accountable as to how they're handling it, while also empathizing with the concerns that they have. How they're handling it, absolutely 100% I do not support. The business of being on the street as Zulus, attacking with spears and everything and sending, and again, I pause and acknowledge the fact that I actually think there are other factors contributing to this, as we know in African politics. So I guess I'm going to stop there and say to my colleagues, to my my comrades, my brothers and my sister, as we have this conversation, let's be open to have it in a nuanced way where we are addressing the issues, but also holding South Africans accountable for how they're handling it, and then also holding Africans accountable for how they are responding to how South Africans are handling it, because we're going to end up in a cycle of distraction. This business of you all talking about you're not supporting South Africa in soccer, it's so childish, it's not even funny. It is so childish. Like, what good is that going to do to Africa? Stop and ask yourself that. Me not supporting the South African team in soccer, what good? And then who are you going to support? England? Instead of South Africa, now that we're down to them, if South Africa was in the finals, you'd be supporting England instead of South Africa. So we have to stop being caught up in the pettiness of it all and start thinking the well-being of Africans so that we can have these conversations in a mature way. Thank you.
Thanks, sis. You said a lot of things that I wanted to cover, but I want to zoom into what Mama Khanyisile said, and that is on the developments in every African country. And that's probably one of the key drivers of this migration. It's one of the key, like you said, Kwame Nkrumah understood this. He warned about this, and he can foretell and foresee what's going to happen. And this is basically where I say African countries have failed. Like Babajide said, Nigeria, over 230 million people, the most populous black nation on earth. And we have a government that's just basically a rubber stamp government. Basically, all the policies they're carrying out in Nigeria today is basically pushed by the IMF, the World Bank. They're not doing anything to help the citizens. And I can say that, people can push back on that, but go check. Because our policies, we were talking about this on the podcast the other day, in our economic planning office, we have IMF, World Bank people sitting in. And that's one of the biggest challenges confronting Africa. So Africans are moving in as much as people move around, and we can't stop that because we've always moved within ourselves. We've always done trade around ourselves. But the driver of the movement is just basically the fact that all African countries are gatekeepers and mission managers for the neo-colonial, neoliberal policy, and that's the driver behind what's going on. And like Mama Khanyisile said, I think we need to confront that. We need to deal with that, because people don't move for the sake of moving. They're moving because they have survival. And the survival is also based on the capitalist, greed-driven agenda. So so all these things are interlinked. So we need to confront these things, and that will stop people from actually pushing. Like I said, I was born and grew up in the West. My dad came here because my grandparents were cash crop farmers, cocoa farmers. They had the money. And it was a badge of honor in those days for them to send their kids abroad. So my dad, the only one that's how he came to the UK. That's how I was born. But then as I realized, my dad, and this is one thing I always say to people, when my dad came to the UK, he hated it. He hated it so bad that he hated it so bad because of what he went through, that my dad said to me as I was growing up back in Nigeria, he said to me, there's no way I'm going to let my kid set foot in the West. This is basically one thing he said to me. My mom was always wanting me to come back, but my dad said, no way. I can tell you, my dad passed away 39 years ago. It's when my dad passed away 39 years ago that I came to the UK. If my dad was alive today, I probably won't be here. So this is basically this is one of the things that driving these things. So basically we need to confront these things. Africans that are running away, why don't we need to stay back and fix our countries? That's one of the key drivers. We need to fix our country. And like Mama Khanyisile said, it's basically, it's not going to be easy. We need to basically be prepared to confront this, because Nigeria's elections coming up in 2027, next year. I can foresee what's going to happen there. Those people who are gonna run the whole thing, they already start with the shenanigans all over again. They're gonna push themselves back in power, and it's all controlled externally, not just internally but externally. And if we don't deal with this, the migration is gonna keep going. Like Unduku said, the way South Africa has dealt with it, I do not like, because we cannot treat ourselves that way. We need to hold ourselves accountable. I understand that, but there's ways you deal with your own people. So yeah, I'll leave it there for now. Babajide, want to say something before we bring Mama Khanyisile back? You're muted.
So listening to what Unduku has enumerated and what Oladele just laid bare, I think the question that I would like to ask, and this also stems from the numbers that have been churning over the last 10 days on South Africa. And what particularly jumped out at me, aside from the numbers, is the question: when Mandela was freed and he became the president of South Africa, what was the plan that would have been put in place to take most Black South Africans from day zero or ground zero of 1994 into the future? Because what is currently playing out in South Africa is telling me that there was no plan. Everything just continued as normal, and the powers that be became even more powerful, because when you look at the dynamics of or the makeup of South Africa today, please, maybe you can shed more light. How many, I'm going to use this term, I know Nduku doesn't like, or we don't all like using these terms, multinationals, right? But how many multinationals, for instance, are Black owned in South Africa that can say, okay, yeah, we're going to employ for the next 10 years, we're going to create 200,000, 300,000, 500,000 jobs for Black people. How many do we have? How many exist in South Africa? How many policies, how many government policies are focused on Black communities? Because this is where I see the frustration. I mean, why should someone be frustrated about a spaza shop? I mean, that is embarrassing enough. And you're not frustrated about, not being able to empower yourself in this capitalist world by creating, a multinational that can also go out and create jobs for the people and bring business into the country. Those are the first things that stood out, even though they're known. I couldn't find any numbers, around organizations that have been formed. But you can see from the frustrations in the economy that those businesses do not exist. And once you remove empowerment from a space, then the people start getting frustrated. And this is what has played out, over the many years since Mandela came to power. So that question, what did ANC put in place when Mandela came to power to empower its own people? Because obviously they had to tell him, look, we're really, basically they had to make an agreement when he came out for the fear of retaliation and reprisals. Okay, and I think he guaranteed that nothing of those sorts was going to happen. Okay, on page 2, what was the plan? We're not going to go and fight back for our land, 70% owned by foreigners, but what are we going to do instead? What industries are going to get created? What empowerment is going to happen for our people? We need to have a good understanding of that. Then my perception, maybe Mama Khanyisile can correct me if I'm wrong, I have this perception of Ramaphosa, right? He comes across like he doesn't really understand how to take his people forward. Yeah, I would even put it this way. He doesn't understand how to take his people to the promised land. I've been watching him for the past 5 years in particular, or is it 4 or 5 years in particular? There's no plan. All his plans are plans that align with the status quo, that align with the, the white establishment, the power brokers. Why? And what do South Africans have to say about that? And I'm not talking about the how would I put it, the middle class South Africans now. What do the power brokers, this black South African power brokers, what do they think about this? I mean, people like yourself who are in parliament, what do you think about this? What do you see? What can you tell the audience about plans for black South Africans?
Quickly, Mama Khanyisile, before you go, because you are definitely the expert on this one, and I know you will address it accordingly. So, when you say Mandela had a plan, what plan? And first of all, as you ask that of South Africa, this is the issue everywhere in Africa. Kenyans, the leaders who came in, did not have a plan. Nigerian did not. The plan is not an African plan. Like, for me, it takes a lot of judo to have these conversations, because seriously, I'm doing all kinds of gymnastics to have these conversations with you all, because this is how my brain is operating. The plan is not even theirs.
No.
The liberation is not even theirs.
Yeah,
so they can't even have a plan.
We're using the wrong software, wrong software, wrong apps.
Right? They're not even liberated, so they can't even have a plan. So to ask why do they not have a plan is like, they're not even in control. They're being told what to do. That's the beginning of the problem. So the problem of Africa today is because of betrayers. Let's just say that. If we can sum it in one sentence, it is the betrayers. And so when Mandela comes in, he, as much as we want to empathize with him, he betrays his people. He betrays his people. And so does Kenyatta. And so does very few African leaders. And those who did not betray their people were killed, right? Those who did not betray. So you can't ask, why are South Africans not creating multinationals? And for me, who understands what's happening, I can almost laugh. And I think I should just start laughing every time that question is asked. Like, how is someone who doesn't even know how to put food on their table supposed to think multinational?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My mother is worried. My mother literally in Kenya is worried about food. My aunt is helping them with food. Imagine my mother. That's why she tells me, Nduku, I don't want this conversation. I want peace. How is she supposed to think about a multinational? So, Mama Khanyisile, take it over.
Yes.
Yeah, I am borrowing Dugu's phrase in one of our groups when she was assisting in policy writing for my party on African language culture, and it was African language culture and
spirituality.
African language and culture.
I think yes.
Yes. Where one of us in that group was very sick because she ate lion meat, and Dugu was just like, I can't with my people. Before I even tell you get better, I mean, what were you doing eating a carnivore? It eats humans. So that's where I am, Dugu. I'm borrowing your phrase. I can't with my people. I really can't. I also, when Babatunde asked it, I was just like, are you really asking me that? Are you really asking why South Africa has not produced African multinationals? Which country has produced them from Cape to Cairo? Not even North Africa, that we think is doing better. Not even Morocco, Algeria, Egypt has produced them.
Yes.
And that's because the global political and economic space is itself very ring-fenced and very racist, which is why each time my sister Nduku, somebody talks about a globalization and multilateralism, I'm just like, what are they talking about? They're using glib words that mean nothing. I mean, America still does what it wants, and the West supports them. So there is no multilateralism. There is no global revolutionized or transformed economic and political system. We are still suppliers of raw material and importers of the finished product. We are still neo-colonized. That's why we call it neo-colonialism. It's a new way, but it's still colonialism in the African continent. So, yeah, and then let's talk about the plan. Babatunde think there was no plan. Of course there was a plan. The plan was to destroy the African people in this country. Why do you think I said South Africa is a mental asylum? South Africans are very angry, actually. And you want to come here as an economic migrant to a mental asylum. You're actually very brave, if I can tell all the, I don't call them foreign for me because this is Africa. I just call them non-South Africans. You are very brave to even want to come here. This is a mental asylum. It's at boiling point. The people are so angry. Because only now are they realizing the big sellout that happened in 1994 through the CODESA talks. Some of us, I mean, I came back from exile with the ANC. I have never been an ANC member as a political party. I've never voted for them. I have never been aligned with them in any way. Actually, what was coming out of those talks at that time, my sister Ndugu, made me sit my family down. We are 8 and I'm the last child. And when I came back, I think about 5 or 6, I'm not counting properly. No, only one had passed on. So all 7 were still alive when I came back. And my mom, only my dad and my brother had passed. Because they were very crazy about the ANC. Remember, the ANC in 94 got an overwhelming majority. So they were very crazy. I sat them down and I said, these people are not going to take an African anywhere slow, let alone fast. They wanted to eat me alive. So I thought, okay, let me step back and allow them to see the ANC for themselves. Even Africans who were engaging at the time, they would kill you. I mean, the ANC was the darling of the nation. I was at UCT that time, Babatunde. I was starting my junior degree. When I was looking at the television, March and April that year, 94, and seeing the overwhelming majority the ANC was going to get, I was becoming sick mentally. I'm not lying. I was really getting sick. There was a lecturer of mine that taught me politics that time, Mary Simons. She's the daughter of Jack and Ray Simons, known white trade unionists who stood with the African struggle before 1994 against apartheid. She could see that something was beginning to affect me because it was even beginning to affect my grades. She called me aside and she said, what is going on? I told her, I said, the ANC is not going to take us anywhere. I've seen them for myself in exile. And she said to me, I'm going to assist you. They are still going to be around at least for the next 30 to 40 years. That's the norm in Africa before people wake up. Do yourself a favor, go for counseling. She said to me, relationships are like two people facing each other with tubes connecting them. So she said, cut the tubes on your side and let them dangle on their side. Help yourself, because otherwise you're going to be mad. They'll still be around. So I am sharing this to make you see that the plan was there. The plan was to destroy, and it was very evident even at the time. I mean, when the ANC went and said, let us take Defense Force, they went and they said, all the SADF, which was the white racists then, can keep their force numbers, and everyone's coming us in 94 should have new force numbers. It means when you're a white racist HR person sitting there and looking at promotional aspects or anything or training opportunities, you don't need to even see my name. You look at the first number and you know this is one of us. You look at the first number and you say this is not one of us, right there. And I mean, MK people did revolt in Valmanstal during that time. What did Mandela say? Mandela called Umkhonto weSizwe. He's the ANC's own armed wing. He called us a rebel movement. Yes, on television. So don't tell me there was no plan, Babatunde. There was a plan. Where we are struggling now with illegal migration, because South Africans are not talking about a legal migration, they're talking about illegal migration. Where we are struggling with illegal migration, that whole area, there was an electric fence properly, a proper border fence. Mandela said, take it down. What was the plan? Not what do you think the plan of turning black on black was not part of the scheme? Oh, I think it was. What did he think was going to happen? He said do that while he knew very well that the ANC is not going to provide anything for the black child in this country. So you're telling me there was no plan, Babatunde, there was a plan. You are talking about shutting white businesses. I want to laugh like Ndugu. I laughed at a Nigerian and they got a shock of their lives. He said, oh, so we are also going to expel ShopRite. I laughed so loud. I said, expel them. How did you allow them there in the first place? It's not an African business. I sit in the Committee on Foreign Relations in Parliament. I am fighting with my EFF counterpart in that committee. We are always fighting every report we get that foreign relations, we call it DECO here, that they table to us and they say so many South African businesses doing business in Africa. We look at the list and we say, they're all white. It's all former apartheid businesses, or it's businesses that have come to locate themselves in South Africa. Oladele. They are European businesses with their headquarters is here. So they are parading as South African businesses. They are not South African. Shut them down. How did you allow them in the first place, Africa? I want to ask. You should have been the first ones to ask, why are these businesses so white? It comes back to what Ndugu was saying. There's no collective effort anymore. You should not have allowed them. I've been to 39, actually I must count, maybe it's actually even more than 39 now, African countries. On the flight to African countries, Oladele, you sit with former apartheid, you sit with Afrikaner boys who are getting businesses and opportunities in this continent, they are running mines in this continent, and when South Africans are contracted, it is like the spanner boys to be miners. But the engineers, the people in charge, it's still white South Africans. So you want to shut down South African businesses, please shut them down like yesterday. and maybe are going to force South Africa to start looking at taking African businesses of South Africa to the continent. You talked about the spaza shops, Babatunde. No, that's a legacy of our parents, and you can't rubbish it like that also. Small and medium businesses produce multinational businesses. You can't kill the small and the medium business but you want to produce multinationals. Spaza shops were started by our parents and our grandparents from nothing when apartheid had locked them out of the economic chain. And they said, instead of you waking up to go to town to buy from a white person, let me be the middleman. At least let me open that business here so we can start growing together and supporting one another. That the ANC started giving licenses to Pakistanis. I can't even, in Pakistani, they'll throw acid on my legs if I even walk down the street there, preaching human rights and preaching gender rights. But we have allowed them. They never supported our struggle. Pakistanis are running amok here, running spaza shops in South Africa. Who gave them the licenses? We go back to your African national confusion. That's what I call them officially. I don't call them African National Congress. Go back to them. How have they been issuing those licenses to Pakistanis? Issuing them to Somalis. We were grey listed, my sister. Do you know why we were grey listed? Because the Pakistani and the Somali here were washing money that is ISIS related. So there's blood in the hands of this country. So our soil is now becoming soaked with blood that we have nothing to do with as Africans in this country, of Islamic fundamentalism that is so anti-women, killing people indiscriminately. So, for me, honestly, Babatunde, Cyril doesn't have a plan. No, Cyril is not stupid.
Says his name is Babajide. No, Babajide.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Babajide.
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 Yes.
Cyril is not stupid. Please mark my words. He can come off like a lame dog, but he's not stupid. I mean, he's catapulted to be one of the richest South Africans currently that we have produced after 94. So he's not stupid. It's not that he doesn't understand how business works. He's part of the plan. Let me summarize the plan quickly. It was never the intention of the ANC to break this country from colonialism or from neo-colonialism. The plan was to keep the status quo. The plan was to keep the African majority silenced, or I'm looking for the English word, sort of like make them think they are free, but they are actually not free, while the status quo.
An illusion.
An illusion, a bubble. Yes, a bubble. Because look at even the national anthem. What forced the ANC to attach a former racist national anthem to an anthem that we share collectively with Zambia?
I am so glad you said that, because that is what I was coming to. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I sit down. Whenever that anthem is sung, I don't care what the formality of that occasion is. When it comes to that English version, my anthem has ended. I sit down. I have no business with that anthem.
But not just that, Mama Khanyisile, as you speak of the anthem so that you can get deeper, not just that. That is part of Mandela's failure. The fact that he brought a Boer version into the anthem. Talking about bringing the people together. Settler, colonialists with... So, yes.
It's no. The ANC's never had the intention, Babajide, to take this country anywhere. Because... Can I tell you, in MK camps, I'm a former guerrilla, which is why I joined Umkhonto weSizwe even now. In MK camps, we talked in the darkness of Angola, in the camps. We would plan this post-apartheid era. And one thing we knew, even our songs, even our liberation songs, the majority of them said so, that the liberation of South Africa will be the liberation of Africa. How quickly did the ANC forget that? Because the ANC is West. The ANC is part of the G20, they are part of the OECD, they are part of everything else. That is a sideshow. That is not even lawmaking, where we pay to be even members, and they will argue and tell you, when I raise this in my committee, they'll tell you, oh, but we are, we are a neutral country, it's a multilateral world, we need to be in all these spheres. No, put your money where your heart is, would be me. That money we are paying at OECD and all these places, why don't we pay it to the AU? I know we are one of the paying countries at the AU, but we can pay more. If we can afford to be paying at OECD and all these platforms, we can pay more at the AU. So they've never had a plan, and I'm sorry I'm taking time. You really have unleashed me, because no, that organization currently, honestly, I am waiting for the death of the ANC. They have killed this country. You must go and see what's happening at municipal level, where your heart just breaks. You are seeing sewer water mixing with drinking water. Not even the poor government fed its people that water. When your lights were switched off during apartheid, you knew that you didn't pay. Not because the state has failed to produce electricity that's adequate enough. And then they have a nerve to talk about 9 wasted years. As far as the ANC is concerned, they're doing okay. The only years that were wrong was when Zuma was in government. Otherwise, all these years have been good. And, they even have a line. They say we have a good story to tell. I don't know. I feel like Ndugu could be in some of those gatherings with a whip and just start whipping people up. Because aren't you seeing the state of your people? Surely you are, but you are in the script because you're doing exactly what you were asked to do. I think before I hand it over,
Yes.
I just want to talk quickly about workers' rights also. We have retarded the struggle for workers' rights in South Africa, my sister Ndugu, because of illegal migration. You have employers out there. So if they say the basic salary is 12,500, because I'm paying you over the counter, I mean, you're illegal. You're not registered. You have no documents. So I will tell you, okay, Ndugu, I will pay you the 12.5. Then you can divide that with 2 of your other colleagues, because I'm employing 3 of you together. Can you see why we don't want illegal migration, people? It's even to protect the very people who are migrating, but also it's retarding our workers' rights, because if you are an employer, who are you going to prefer? A South African that know their rights, that will toy, that will call a march and march, a South African that will go on Twitter and expose you, or a person that won't expose you, because even if you take that 12,500 and you divide it by 3, it's still money that they did not have. So we are retarding the worker struggle, something we prided ourselves on in 94, and we said our worker struggle is one of the most advanced. You cannot exploit our workers. Well, we've brought back that exploitation through the window. And then you have just one last thing, and I know Ndugu is going to fly off this podcast right now. How is Oranje an issue? How? There's no government in South Africa. What does the Constitution say? How is a white enclave based on racism, on excluding the indigenous people, operating in broad daylight in South Africa under an ANC government? And then you are expecting citizens to march there and dismantle it. Huh? Like, what are we dealing with here? And I'm saying all these things because I'm trying to make you see we've become a mental asylum. And nobody should be coming here for anything until we solve this mental asylum, Ndugu, honestly.
Unless they're coming to join the fight.
Unless they're joining the fight. Thank you, my sister. Ndugu, you talked about Zulus with spears. Oh, no. In traditional way in South Africa, it's part and parcel of our everyday life. I know someone told me in Kenya that no, not here. Even when they march against electricity, they will still be carrying their spears and their shields and it's part of them. That's who they are. They are not carrying them because they want to attack our fellow African brothers. And poverty has a skin color, people, in all our countries, not just in South Africa. But I think another thing, Ndugu, I want us to understand here is by 94, you already had townships here at Soweto. So when 94 hits, it's part of us, it's our history. And people have title deeds. So you truly do not expect that person to sell that house and go and buy a house in the suburb that a white person would have paid a quarter of the money that they would be charging them now, selling them that house. You don't expect Africans to do that either, which is why some Africans have stayed in these areas. They have just improved them, which is exactly what we are fighting again. In Ramaphosa's time, the economy of the township has come to a grinding halt. Babajide, I think, listen to my two inputs I made during the budget vote here and also during the presidential vote. I sent them to Dugan Oladele. Listen to them. Township economy has come to a grinding halt. Instead, they are issuing licenses to Pakistanis and Somalis. Then you don't expect South Africans to rise up in anger. It is not possible. So it's almost like this whole thing is being brewed on purpose for me. And I think that's where the discussion is not going. That this is systemic, it's done on purpose. It is not a mistake. I think I'll leave it there for now. Oh, just one last thing. Mandela. Babajide, do you know the other 6 people that Mandela was incarcerated with at Robben Island? Just do a nod, a shake or a yes. Do you know their names? Thank you.
We can't remember now.
So how did Mandela become emulated from 7 people who were tried for the same case, sentenced to the same conditions? How does he emerge as one that suffered the most of all of the 7 is my first question. My second question is, why are we lying also? Mandela was not released from Robben Island. He didn't serve 27 years at Robben Island. Mandela was released from Victor Verster, a prison in Paarl, a wine-producing community not far from Cape Town. I think it's an hour or so, an hour and a half, whatever, but it's not far. And at Victor Verster, Mandela was not living in a prison. He was living in a warden house, and he had servants and security, while his other 6 comrades were left behind on Robben Island. They didn't even know that he had been taken away from them. They actually went on hunger strike thinking he was killed. My other thing is also, why are we lying and making like Mandela is the one that suffered the most through our struggle? Steve Biko lost his life. His family did not benefit nothing from fighting against apartheid. So is countless millions of other people. I was not paid for sacrificing my youth, the most important decade of anybody. Between my 20th and 30th decade, I was in the camps fighting. So are many other of my comrades who have tuned in even now. We never got paid millions and given cars by BMW. Why is he emulated above everybody else? I was taught by O.R. Tambo that once the West start throwing a red carpet to any African leader, run away from them. They haven't sold you out. They've sold their own soul out. And then you have Robert Sobukwe, the person who suffered the most at Robben Island, president of the PAC at the time. The PAC have this as their symbol. They don't do the feast. Babajide, just look up. I see you're looking down. They don't do the feast. They do this.
I'm writing. I'm just making it up. Yeah.
How did they arrive to this? Because he was isolated. Imagine being at least the 7 were together. Imagine being at Robben Island and being isolated. They say in the morning he would wake up and try and do this over the window of his cell just to say, I am alive, it's me. And then they gave him a slow poison through the years such that when he came out, he did not last. So me, I have no respect for Mandela, I repeat here. I think when Winnie Mandela was asked, also there's a documentary on Netflix, please watch it. I've watched it and I can affirm that at least 90% to 93% of that is true. When she was asked, do you feel betrayed by Mandela? I will never forget the response. It's my family's favorite response. She said, at political level, yes. He betrayed me politically. Winnie didn't care that he had seen Grasha and was loving Grasha better than her. That's besides the point. Winnie said, the biggest betrayal I feel is the political betrayal, because she understood that Mandela had sold the birthright of Africans in this country. I think I'll leave it here. I'm sorry that I took so long.
Yes. I think I can appreciate your response. You may have misunderstood my comments, but your response, it's golden. I must say, it's golden, because you have now broken down, in a nutshell, the South African problem and the African problem. Okay, and from you talked about illegal migration, right? Illegal migration is not the problem. From what you've described, it's not the problem. What the problem is governance and government. That's the problem. Once you take care of government and governance, because of what you've described happens around illegal migration. Spaza shops were originally meant to be for, South African citizens, South African indigenes, the black community specifically. Then all of a sudden they're issuing license to Pakistanis, etc. That's a governance issue. That's a government issue. That's number one. Then number two, because I know we're pressed for time as well, so I need to go through this pretty quickly.
I'm sorry, just allow me. Sorry, Babajide, just allow me for a second. We actually in South Africa no longer call it a governance problem. It's the ANC's anti-black problem. They don't like Africans. It's a very anti-black organization.
I'm struggling, honestly, Mama Khanyisile. I'm really, really struggling with the comments you just made. I'm struggling with it, and I'm sure a lot of Africans would hear this and struggle with it. That you're saying, I know, it's just difficult for me to understand that you're saying ANC, it was and is anti-black.
Yes, because it's run by white people who stand under the false notion of white supremacy. So yes, because they're not. They're coconuts.
Also, Babajide, that is why the PAC marched out of the ANC in the first place, because they said this is not African enough. This is a liberal organization. You can't have liberalism when you have not decolonized.
And I think that's a great history to break down, Mama Khanyisile, quickly before Babajide goes.
Yeah.
Mama Khanyisile is right.
So,
the ANC comes to a point where they want to start including white people in these matters. And Robert Sobukwe and others say we cannot do this. To fight for Black liberation, to fight for Black wellness, we cannot also include those who oppressed us. And he's completely uncompromising, like we are about it. And so he chooses to split from the ANC and create the PNC. And that there is what we all need to start looking at. That there is the crack that happens in South Africa. And that's where the betrayal begins.
And furthermore, Nduku, there's the PAC at the time, because it has also gone rogue, by the way. So I'm talking about the proper PAC here. The PAC at the time called the ANC the Charterists, because they then produced the Freedom Charter in 1955. And the preamble of the Freedom Charter is what was a problem to the PAC. South Africa belongs to all who live in it, both black and white. The PAC was just like, what? It's a pity we are online. I would have said this in the Gen Z language, What? The what? Huh? Belongs to who? Who live in it, both black and white? No, we are in a wrong movement here. And then fast forward to both organizations get banned by the apartheid government. They go to exile. Ndugu, who do you think the West supported? Who do you think the world supported between the PAC and the ANC? The ANC.
Obvious.
Because the agenda of the ANC did not look scary to whiteness. It also did not look, in Sankara's words, Sankara says Africa is not liberated because Africans are not mad enough. So the ANC's agenda didn't look mad enough to white people.
I didn't know.
It was sanitized, it was clean, it smelled it smelled of perfume. No. These people don't want us out. They don't want to restore the dignity of Africans. They don't want to decolonize. They just want a spot at the table so they can also share with us the masters. So the PAC came back injured, disorganized. There was starvation in APLA camps. Their undoing was called APLA. There was starvation. They would starve. The people weren't supporting them. I take my hat off to Nyerere. He's one of the people who saw them through, really, and China. They were not supported by the rest of the world. That's how the ANC becomes more popular than the PAC. When I skipped and I joined the struggle, I end up in ANC camps, and through my arguments, some comrades whisper to my ears and they say, you're actually in a wrong movement. You should have gone to the PAC. But it wasn't a choice then, because the ANC was so popular. It was almost like there's no other vehicle. This is the vehicle to liberate people. So, no. That history for me is very important. I see the ANC as a very anti-black organization. And also how Mandela's become an international icon. There's even an international Mandela Day. What? Why is there no international Steve Biko Day? The man was battered to death.
There's a
by the
statue
back
in
of the gun.
London. There's a statue in
And then they
London.
loaded him. Sorry, Ndugu, let me allow
There's a
you.
statue in London of him next to a bunch of lords.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's a colonial gatekeeper. So yeah.
Thank you. Steve Biko was battered with the rifles, or with the butt of rifles on the head until it was pulp. And then they loaded him at the back of the van, and they were gonna drive with him in that state from East London to go and lock him up in Pretoria. And they were stopping and buying coffees and cokes along the way. And obviously, I must actually check, but Oladele can check for us. Distance between East London and Johannesburg. It's called Combo now, but East London, we still take it. I mean, it's far. That's far. And obviously died on the way. He couldn't make it. I mean, that person does not have an international day of recognition of his effort against the struggle, but Mandela does. Wow. I mean, we are not even talking about Mandela divorcing Winnie here. You are aware? Because we don't have time. How did he even divorce Winnie to marry Gracia Machel? This is the woman who was smelled by police dogs each time he came to see you. Winnie kept the ANC alive in South Africa when Mandela was in prison. And then you come out, and then white multinationals tell you to divorce her, and you do. By the way, I'm going to say this, then I'm going to leave this and just say, Ndugu, if we want a focused broadcast on everything that was happening between 90 and hope to God they don't kill me, and I don't mean the white God, hope to our African God they don't kill me, but I can give the whole expose of what happened between 1990 and 94. Who talked to who was selling out. That information is out there. The thing with Africa,
definitely,
the thing with the white people is they will work with you. When they are done, they will expose the info. So it's there, and I actually have talked about it at University of South Africa at one stage. But I'm gonna say this and leave it here. Mandela divorced Winnie and moved in where, Babajide? He moved into the house of Rockefeller, Rothschild, Rupert, and was
Oppenheimer's.
Oppenheimer, yes, and was staying there and holidaying and spending Christmases in Africa with the Christmas trees and white snow in December in Africa. So, I mean, I'm done. Just there, I'm done.
Okay, so just so that I can wrap up as well, yeah. What you've brought to bear this afternoon is very, very deep. It shows the problem is deeper than initially thought. When I was asking that Mandela question, I thought it was just going to be a very simple and straightforward answer. It's now opened up. It's opened up a can
of worms, massive.
Worms is light. I mean, I can't even begin now, because now you've said, if we want to know what happened between 1990 and 1994, that's a subject for another day. I mean, that's going to be worth waiting for.
Yeah, we're looking forward to
it. And in that same breath, I think you've answered this whole question of what's going on in South Africa right now. You've answered the question. It's not a migration problem. It's not a migration problem. The migration problem is a scapegoat. They're just using that as an excuse, to fuel the people to fight against each other, which you alluded to, right? But the problem is the same problem that Nduku and Olade like to hammer on, which is the issue with the white South Africans needs to be dealt with. If it's not dealt with, South Africa is not going anywhere. But the first thing that needs to be done I think my own first recommendation would be, the revolution must start with Black people, Black South Africans getting that foot through the door, through that capitalist door. Yes, we don't like capitalism, but today, as South Africa stands, that foot needs to go through that door. As long as there's no foot through that door, I think there's going to be a repeat of these issues year in, year out. That's the first thing. Now, so my question to you would be, what would be the initial immediate steps that Black South Africa can take and put all this nonsensical black on black or Black South Africans on African migrants issue, because it's not even relevant in this discussion that we've had this evening. The numbers that I prepared, your answers, your responses, I have knocked those numbers out because the problem is deep. So what will be your recommendations, knowing what you know? Yeah, and let's limit this because, yeah, it touches on the rest of Africa too, but let's limit this to South Africa. How does South Africa move forward tomorrow, knowing the damage that is on the table?
So I think I actually take my hat off to, I know we always talk about Gen Zs of Kenya. I take my hat off to Gen Zs of South Africa.
Sis, sorry, sis. You did ask a question earlier. East London to Johannesburg. It's
yes.
962 kilometers. 962 kilometers.
Yeah. You put a man at the back of the van whose head you've battered with rifle butts, whom you've tortured, and you don't give him any medical attention. You put him at the back of a van to drive with him almost 1,000 kilometers to go and lock him up in Pretoria. I mean, that death was systemic. It was intended. Anyway, Babatunde, what needs to be done? I was saying, I take my hat off for South African Gen Zs because the ANC never thought the day will come when they will be reduced to what they are. In the last national election 2 years ago, the ANC was reduced to 40%. And it's because more young people registered to vote. And I want to continue to ask young people in South Africa to continue to outvote the ANC. We need to stand on the grave of the ANC and see it dead and actually pour champagne on that grave and celebrate its death. And this thing that people talk about, oh, it's part of our history. Yeah, they'll be written in history books. They don't need to be alive. And they will be written in history books in the proper connotation of what they've done to this country. I think the second thing that we need to do together, it's not just a South African problem, because in South Africa, we have become aware. If I say the ANC was reduced to 40%, it means we are aware. The whole of Africa needs to also start seeing Mandela for who he was, and to also see the ANC for what it is. But Africans, you also need to see South Africa for what it is. I keep painting this picture and I can see it's not getting through. I would not want to go into a mental asylum to look for a place to stay in a mental asylum. I wouldn't want to. I would wait for the patients in the mental asylum to be well. I would wait for sanity. A mental asylum under riot is not a place for anybody to go. And that's where we are in South Africa currently. There's protest about everything. It's just not the one on illegal immigration is profiled, obviously, because again, there are dissenters who want to turn it into an Afrophobic thing, which it is not. But South Africa has been rising and protesting against everything. I mean, MK, Babatunde, if you want to see how bad it is, Babajide, if you want to see how bad it is, MK was formed December. The elections were going to be that next year in May. Never held a rally to any meaningful latitude, did not campaign to any meaningful latitude, but dislodged the EFF and became the first African official opposition. And even then, there's a case in court because we believe that the votes that were counted, that were given, were actually even rigged, because we don't even understand how the DA is a number 2 party. So I'm telling you this for you to see that the level of tiredness and irritation and anger of South Africans is here. So let South Africans deal with their internal issues. Let us deal with the ANC. Let us deal with the whiteness. Let us deal with the fact that the ANC, Ndugu, listen to this. And again, I want to see your anger, so show me your face. What the ANC went and negotiated in terms of land redistribution or restitution of land back to its owners. Do you know they've gone and put a rider that says what? Only land that was taken after 1913 or from 1913. The deputy president of the ANC, Paul Mashatile, stood there in full view in parliament. I was attending and said, when we're howling back, after we gave our input, obviously. I mean, fighting, why must it start in 1913? White people arrived here in 1652. Do you know what was his rebuff, Babajide? Oh, because
Yes.
something like, because before 1913, there was no legal instrument, so we can't know who owned what. It's only in 1913 when they were dispossessing it legally can we see that, okay, this happened. And I thought, is the deputy president of the ANC just standing there and telling the world Africans had no notion of legality before 1913 or before white people came? We didn't have any legal system. We didn't have any way of knowing who owned what. He even said the land on which this parliament stand, I don't know who owned it before 1913. I thought, I'm done. I'm done. There's no discussion. These useless people must just die. They are finishing oxygen. This party must just die. So I think we need to start profiling the ANC for what it is in the continent. We must profile Mandela for what he is. And Africans must start understanding the fact that there's a freeway running between Pretoria and Joburg and all the way to Cape Town does not mean that South Africa is okay. It is not okay. It's a mental asylum. And in that mental asylum, while we are fighting, you know, they are fighting us so much, they were even trying to instigate tribalism. In my mother's time already, South Africans were intermarrying. In South Africa, if I tell you my name and it is a Sotho name, you can't assume that my parents are Sotho. I could be Swati, my parents just loved that name. That's how much integrated we are. They are trying, in the last 1 year, they were funneling an anti-Zulu sentiment, causing South Africans to hate Zulu people. 19-year-olds who can't even spell Zulu. So they are really, I mean, we are really in a mental, we are fighting for our stake here. So if you say, what's the recommendation? Let us fight and support us in this fight. Understand where we are and fight with us. Don't fight against us. Don't label us and misunderstand what we are saying.
Exactly, Asante. So let me quickly come in, Asante.
I agree with you.
Thank you. Sorry. And we had numbers. We had numbers to show, and our brother Babajide worked very hard to put these numbers together. But as we started the conversation,
I need them because I need those numbers because I'll use them in some of my speeches.
Exactly. Yeah. They'll be very helpful in what you're doing on the ground. They'll be very helpful. And maybe also we can come back and have a conversation with you with the numbers on how to move forward. What solutions should we implement? How do we counter the false narratives with the numbers when the white establishments try to bring these background propaganda, right? But quickly, my suggestions to solutions, and you're right, I'm mad, and that clearly was a betrayal of the people. And I wish we were at the point as Africans where we understand what an enemy looks like. Mama Marimba Ani calls it, we suffer from xenophilia. Xenophilia is a practice, is a state of mind where you don't understand who's your enemy. You love everyone, even people who are harming you. You just love, you just love, you just love, you just love. Instead of seeing enemies, like we don't identify who's an enemy and who's not. So everyone who stands for Ubuntu and the well-being of the community should have immediately understood that that was an enemy, and that enemy must be eliminated. Like, I know you have all embraced this white Christian nonsense of turn the other cheek. I know you have all embraced this white man's false bullshit of we need to be, non-violence. From the most violent creature on the planet, non-violence. And Africans are like, non-violence. While he shoots you and bombs you and cuts you up and throws you in furnaces, you're still non-violence, because he's saying so. I know you're all there, but this is where I am. And I hope more of you join me here. We must identify enemies, and enemies must be eliminated. We need to figure out how to eliminate enemies. Because if you don't eliminate enemies, they sabotage you and they destroy the well-being of the community. Now, I'm not promoting the nonsense paranoia or that must be an enemy, that must be an enemy. No, it has to be a process that actually establishes that this person did betray us. There has to be a council of elders. There has to be a council of representatives, male, female, in each ethnic group that sits and says, this is the way this person has betrayed us. And because of this is why we are taking these actions. And there has to be, you have to show that it actually happened. It's not just speculation and suspicion. It actually happened. That's the only time we move. Because, for example, you have all seen what Ruto has done. It has actually happened. We have witnessed it. We have seen him doing it. So when we meet, we will have evidence of what Ruto has done before we declare him an enemy of the people. So I don't know what conversation you all want to have, and I'm not talking about my fellow colleagues here today, because I know what conversation they want to have, which is why I have it with them. But the rest of you out there with your red bottoms, and yes, I will always attack red bottoms, because that's, for me, is the most ridiculous thing that we always embrace. Shoes and hairstyles and how you look and where you're eating. You all want that fufula instead of liberation. Good food, good health. I can move wherever I want and I don't have to show my ID.
My sister Ndugu. And brands.
And brands.
Brands of white men who are so racist. Some of them are on record that they hate black people, but we are wearing their brands and feeling proud.
You know, it's funny because
I'm a Louis Vuitton guy. I'm a this guy. I mean, honestly, you just need a whip sometimes to whip sense.
We had the Afrobeat festival in Newark for yesterday and Friday. And as I'm standing there dancing to my African music, this very African man comes dressed from here. And I mean from here, because he had a scarf, he had Versace taking pictures. Versace. Afrobeat festival, as in African festival, dressed in Versace. You all, let me not insult you, my fellow one.
We don't get it, sis. We don't get it.
No, but here's the thing: for those of us who get it, we don't understand, because even in the spaces with those of us who get it, we're still entertaining nonsense. Nduko, you're being too aggressive. Nduko, you're hurting their feelings. Nduko, please present that. No, I need to hurt their feelings because they're out of their mind. And the only thing that will awaken them is a shock action. So me slapping you in the face will make, why did she slap me in the face? This business of, but don't you think, sitting in the room with Africans talking about Marxism and entertaining that conversation instead of saying we're not tolerating any isms in an African space. I'm saying we need to take a warrior mindset. But let me go back before I rattle on.
Before you go, my sister, I really need to go. I'm looking at the time.
Yes,
I just 2 points to add, and they can be deliberated in this platform even when I'm gone. My first one is like you, my sister Ndugu, you taught me well, even if you're my kid sister. I'm not going to nest them. I'm going to be brutal. Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. Big country. Babajide, Congolese are chased helter-skelter by M23, owned by Rwanda, the size of Soweto. You are telling me Rwanda is chasing Congolese helter-skelter. They are in South Africa helping me park at a mall, showing me a parking spot for 2 rands or 1 rand at a time. Sometimes for nothing, I just open my window and say thank you. I don't mean me, I mean the norm. Because we are running away from M23. When are Congolese going to fight? The richest country in Africa in terms of endowment of minerals, of what's under the ground. They choose to be refugees and run away from M23. I will not be chased away from my country by a neighboring country's rebel movement. I will fight till the end. That's also how you can help us, Babatunde. Please, Africans, stay in your countries and fight. We are fighting here. As I said, even our liberation movement is the smallest in history. South Africans were not about that business. They were fighting here, ducking bullets with dustbin lids. They were fighting till Ndugu, I'll tell you something which we can actually also podcast on one day, because it's even getting lost in South Africa itself. When I was a teenager here in the 80s, in the struggle, we used to have what we called mass funerals. I want to unpack that quickly. where Johannesburg alone would be burying 900 people. Pretoria is burying 400. Cape Town is burying in one weekend. We would bury, that's why I even stopped crying in funerals, because we are burying 300 people at one time.
I just watched a
People
documentary.
died, and they were willing to die. What has happened to Africans? How are Congolese running helter-skelter from M23? How are Zimbabweans running away from Ngangwa? They dislodged the most brutal system of Ian Smith. They can't dislodge their own. Mama Ndugu, you call it what? Xenophilia. Yes, they can't dislodge their own. They prefer to be refugees all over the show. So for me, I think, yeah, please help us by fighting in your countries. We need fights in 54 countries that will ultimately come together and become one fight. But there can't be one country fighting while the others are watching. And I also thought, just before I finish this conversation, we have to emulate Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger for coming together for a common fight, and for fighting together for economic advancement, and for fighting together to recorrect history, and for Burkina Faso to be the only African country thus far that has declared an African spirituality holiday. So we can see this is possible, people. But it is possible if you elect the right leaders too. You ask, how can you help us? You can help us, and we can help you, and we can all help one another. Also, I go to xenophilia, Mama Ndugu. We are electing people who are not Pan-African and expecting Pan-African results. When you elect Cyril Ramaphosa for president, and then you expect to have medication in the hospitals, he's not about blackness. What were you thinking? It's your fault. How can you help us, and how can we help you? And in the end, we help one another. Can we also start pointing out, as Mama Ndugu was saying, the sellouts in our midst? Me, I'm past the scared of death thing. I mean, if I'm gonna die, at least let me die for a principle. Let me not die. I always say, I don't want people to say, she came, she ate, she got married, she gave birth, she became an MP, she died. That's not a legacy. I mean, that's nonsense. What did you do for your people? Where did you fight? Where did you ensure that you are restoring the dignity of African people? So, yes, that's what I wanted to just add before I run off, and hope that truly we're gonna have that spotlight that we're gonna shine.
Yeah, we're gonna bring you back to talk about the Mandela legacy.
But when we do that, we also need to have a bit of research. There are countries that I know, like Kenya, like Zim. We also need to shine a spotlight on other African countries.
Yeah, we'll do that.
In the end, what we got, not even for economics, just for at the point of the so-called independence.
The betrayal.
Leaders that were killed, because in all our countries, the genuine ones are killed, and it's sellouts that emerge, but we continue celebrating those sellouts. So, yeah.
Mark, before you go, can I just ask you something? One quick one. It's been on my mind. You're talking about elections all over the continent, electing the right people. How can we elect the right people when the system is basically screwed up?
I was going to point that out too. As long as democracy remains and that white establishment remains,
Look, ultimately, I'm not one. I've said it in many platforms. Parliament is a white created platform. The parliament is not about decolonization or liberation. It's about keeping the status quo going. All I'm saying is, while we are still these 54 divided countries and parliaments are still ongoing, can we at least also make that part of the front, part of the struggle, and start putting the right people there, so that those right people can link up with the struggles on the ground? Because it retards us even more if we are going to put people like the person in Cameroon who can't even walk up the flight of stairs.
He doesn't even live in Cameroon. He doesn't even live in Cameroon.
Thank you. As long as we put the Ramaphosas in power, the Mnangagwas, they're stifling even this movement that we say must come up. That's where parliament, for me, its importance is only limited to that, in that they command the defense force and the police and the power. So any struggle that comes from the ground that they see is genuine, they just stifle it. It's like a jackboot authority. So their importance until when we eradicate them and we install a truly indigenous and homegrown system of government. Until then, let's start cleaning them up also, because otherwise their continued presence, there delays this genuine struggle, because they just make sure that it does not continue.
My hope, quickly before you leave, because I do need you to hear this, my hope is that whatever entity, and I'm not going to be specific because I don't want to seem biased, whatever entity comes in must come in to destroy the Western structures. Must. You must put out an agreement, an official agreement with the people of South Africa that this is what you're going to do. And if you fail it, those within your party must hold you accountable. And if they fail to, South Africans must hold you accountable. And that must be part of the agreement. How will South Africans hold you accountable? And I'm saying to you right now, Mama Khanyisile, and to the people who might end up decide to take on this request, I will make it my problem if you betray the people. And the rest of us Africans should make it our problem. And this is how we should move, not just for South Africa.
It's eldership, it's accountability. Eldership and accountability.
If you have an agreement with the people and you fail it, I'm saying for whichever entity thinks they can do this and takes on this mandate that we fellow Africans, Pan-Africans, are calling out to you, you must not be compromised. You must not sit in the same room with white people to negotiate nothing. We need a period of healing before we even decide as a community how we're going to move forward with white people. You must remove all white structures in a black nation. Must remove all of them. Must remove all of them. Orania must fall. Must fall. And land must be given back to the people of South Africa because it was stolen. Even if it was sold to you as a white person, even if you paid $1 million, we don't give a shit. And I'm saying it that intentionally. We do not give a shit. It was sold to you by a thief. Based on our legal
sorry,
system.
My sister, it's got a name, so let me give you the phrase. So when you advocate, use the phrase. We call it. Why am I forgetting it now? It's like land. There's a better term, but I'm forgetting it. Land restitution without compensation.
No.
Why must I compensate what was stolen?
No.
Like you are getting paid twice now. You stole and you used it and you gained economically, and now we must also compensate you for you to give it back.
Exactly, because you are the immoral creature who knew how this happened and went ahead to buy this land. You will face the consequences of the big loss that you will face, and actually celebration to us that you will actually lose that. So these are the terms of agreement that I'm talking about to any party that comes on. That is what you need to mute yourself, Oladile, before you expose yourself.
Let me.
You're about to. But hold on. So this is, I'm saying seriously, and if we're going to say we're supporting this entity because we are in a democratic system to come in, they must come in to destroy that democratic system. And you cannot sit in rooms with white people. And also, you must understand that you're coming in as warriors. All mercenaries, all systems of covert operation must be removed and removed accordingly. Not sitting in rooms talking about that is inhumane, or we're breaking rights of, no, you're dealing with inhumane people, and therefore you must use inhumanity to control it. So this is where I stand, and this is where I hope most of us end up standing.
Yes.
I'm gonna add one last line to your agenda, my sister Ndugu, which summarizes all of what we have just said. So we say politics or politicking versus liberation. What are you doing? Are you politicking or are you about liberation? Because if you are about liberation, you are not even going to be indulging economic migrants. If you're about liberation, you want to fix the country here and now. You understand we're at war. But if you're politicking, it's fine. We'll just elect the next new one in the next 5 years, and we'll elect the next one in the next new 5 years. And you're politicking. You're just playing politics. You're not about liberation. So for me, those are the two terms currently. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sis. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate.
We'll see you soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
People. But also, as Mama Khanyisile goes and as Babajide prepares, my brothers, And yeah, you don't have to censor me.
That's all right. We can censor you. You know, the share button is looking good.
Yes.
Also, as Mama Khanyisile, like, we as responsible Pan-Africans must acknowledge that our brothers and sisters in South Africa are feeling the pain, right?
Yeah.
And there are entities who are breaking the law and making that pain even more dire. So here's my advice to South Africans and the non-South Africans, the fellow Africans in that South African space. Start working together.
Yeah.
Start organizing together. Start understanding that your well-being is the foundation that you all stand on, and it should be a common cause and a common pursuit. And therefore, you and this is something I wanted to say before, and Babajide, maybe your numbers will reveal it. That thing about the spaza shops where children were dying because there was pesticide on certain, like it was a bag of chips. That is so much, I don't have the evidence, but smells so much of a covert operation.
Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding.
But that's what I heard.
It is a covert operation where they poison them, and then it looks like it's the shopkeeper who poisoned the children. This is how they move, which is why we must eliminate them. If we're going to talk about liberation, they must seriously be eliminated. Because as long as they exist, they will continue planting these things. I'm telling you, one CIA agent will walk over to a container ship and put a poisonous substance on the chips, knowing it's going to go to a spaza ship. And then it's going to seem a spaza shop. It's going to seem like it's the spaza shop people who are doing that, when it is just one Yurugu, one Mzungu, one white person who poisoned that, because they don't care about us. They don't see our humanity. And we don't understand this. We don't understand this, that this is what they do. They will poison. John Perkins, in Confessions of an Economic Hitman, revealed how, and we know this through the Kenya Land and Freedom Army history, they poisoned blankets and then gave the blankets as under the NGO, as in help. And those blankets wiped people out.
Yep.
Do you think these people have changed, that they will not poison bags of chips so that children can die? And then South Africans see it as if it is Nigerians and so who killed the children. So you all need to start coming in rooms to organize. And you all need to start having this conversation that this is the enemy. And you all need to start putting in place intelligence movements, people who are going to go find out what is actually happening, to collect the intelligence.
Yes.
And come and tell you.
Yes.
And then we must remove white settlement from the continent, everywhere in the continent. Go on, Babajide.
Okay, Babajide, before you go to the numbers, before you go, Babajide, I've got something that we all need to address. This comment pissed me off, actually.
Yes.
Can you say it on the comment there?
Yeah.
No, put it up, please. Put it up.
Okay, let's put it up. Let's deal with this, guys. Yeah. Can you say it? If white people disappeared from the planet today, Africa will still be poor after a decade?
It should not piss you off. It should not piss you off. Let's do an experiment.
I've heard this numerous times from even Nigerians around me. So
it should not make you upset. It should not make you upset at all.
But let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
But don't be upset.
Yeah,
No, because this is the kind of people we're dealing with, who have this warped mindset that think that we can't do without white people. So everything that we've been saying here, whether this person is, do you think, did we not exist before they existed? Were we not living before they came?
Think about this. This person does not have a real name. They don't have a picture that identifies a human being. You understand, we've had sessions on AI. You understand about bots.
But
you understand about this system, and this is what it's supposed to do.
Okay, all right, I'll leave it.
No, you don't even have to leave it. But hold on, you don't even need to leave it. Put it up there. It's a nonsensical statement that we should not even entertain in the first place. Guess what? Go ahead. We take you. We're going to entertain your bogus statement. White people, step away. Move out of the planet. Let's see. We accept the challenge as African people. We accept gladly the challenge. Yeah. How about that? So let me, because this is a white person.
Yeah.
This is very much a white person who posted this. This is not even a coon. This is a white person who posted this.
It actually may not be Nduku. It could be a black person.
Whether it is or not, it is a white person who did this. Do you not understand what I'm saying to you?
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Whether
Yeah,
they are within a black body or this is a
Yes.
white person who, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
please indulge us and disappear from the planet.
Yes.
I share.
So
okay, let's go to the number. Okay, go on.
So let me just quickly, just add to what Nduku has said. So many years, because this conversation has been raging for years, whether you know it or not. Maybe like 10, 15 years ago, I was on Twitter, and it was a radio conversation that was going on here. So I tweeted back at the radio station. Same conversations. Oh, what the white people have done for the black community, etc., for Africa. So this lady tweeted back at me and said something along the lines of, "Oh, without the whites, without white people, basically, Africa wouldn't have medicine." I'm like, what? Medicine?
Stupidity.
Do you know?
So
how long has Africa been in existence for? Does she know? What sustained us before the white man came to Africa? Wasn't it African medicine? So the bottom line of how we move forward with these conversations, I think Mama Khanyisile alluded to it as well in the work that is before us. It all has to be data driven. It all has to be data driven, because when you look at the data, it is very clear that it is African medicine, it is African food, it is African everything that has sustained us to this point, 2026. Even COVID 2019, could not do that damage because of the African genetic makeup. Why are we not looking at that? That is our spirituality that we can hold on to say, yes, we're untouchable. So anything else, before I came to this country, came back to this country, I didn't know what we never had anything called flu. I'm sure Baladele, you can agree with me. In Nigeria, it was either you fell ill with typhoid or malaria. So any slight fever you have is either down to typhoid or malaria. But when I came out here, I started hearing about different types of flus. Then at some point, I learned about the flu that happened, many years ago, the Black Plague that killed everybody. When has a Black Plague ever killed a multitude of people in Africa? So the bottom line is, the way we are going to, or the best way of dealing with these people that come up with these kind of comments is data. You present the facts, whether we have the data, as in whether we were able to collect data 100 years ago, 200 years ago, is irrelevant, because whatever we did over the last 100 years up until this point is still accountable. And I'll give you just to wrap up, I'll give you another example. The population of the UK is about 60 million, right? That was the population of Nigeria around about the mid-1960s. Now, check that out. So between 1965 and 2026, the Nigerian population has grown from 65 million to about 231 million. Yet the population of Europe in that time and the UK has declined significantly. I put that down to what? I put that down to, first and foremost, lifestyle. Why is it that Africans, why is it that Africans can procreate, without, effortlessly? What's driving that? Is it the food that we eat? Is it the air that we breathe? Is it the sun? Whatever it is, the data backs it up that something in the soil, in the atmosphere in Africa is driving that population growth. And it's not Western science. It is not Western science. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. So quickly, Oladile, quickly, because the response also triggered other statements. Quickly.
Yes.
For those of this question, do the CIA also sell expired food as well, Sister Nduku? Like this, first of all, when I talk about the CIA, it's not just the CIA, because I know we are very intellectually challenged currently. We are operating on low frequency. Because let me just help you stretch your intellectual muscles. When I speak of the CIA, I'm speaking of everyone that operates under the CIA and for the same interests. The United States, the United Kingdom, MI5, M60, all of them, even the Arabic ones. So let's just clear that up. But yes, they also sell expired food. But just because I'm addressing the main point, the root cause of the problem does not mean that I don't know about the symptoms. I'm just not dwelling on the symptoms. And once I remove the root cause, we can talk about the symptoms and we can deal with the symptoms. And now I'm talking about our brothers and sisters who are getting involved in these. I don't give you know what, sovereignty, find another place to troll, right? Oladile, remove sovereignty of thought from get them out. Like, just get them out. We need to start doing that. The person is not here to have a conversation that is grounded on the well-being of people, of our people. Take them out. Nonsensical questions that are leading nowhere. No, take them out. I will take them out if you don't. Don't worry. I'll take them out. So and just because I said the CIA probably planted, whether it was the CIA or a Russian entity or a British entity, we are talking about covert operatives. And I even said, let's build an intelligence gathering system where we actually find out who it is. All I'm saying is this foul play, right? And just because they're doing that and we are addressing them does not mean that we don't understand that there are people within our own community who look like you and I, who have also taken on these habits of devaluing Black people's human nature, right? Who are dehumanizing their own people, who are saying, for the sake of money, I will sell expired goods to my people to make money. We understand that very much, that our people also have been corrupted by capitalism, and that we will deal with. But we must also address the root cause of the problem. So we're going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing that. You come here and start asking questions where you know very well you're just trolling. We're taking you out because we're not here for nonsense. Go on, my brothers.
Yeah.
Babajide, Nduku, we're going to round up shortly. Yeah, we don't. Yeah. So yeah. Babajide, what do you want to add?
With the numbers, I'll just, for the benefit of our audience, just run through the dashboard presentation. And obviously, if we can leave a link for the audience, they can just go and engage with the data, after the show. But
are you okay with us sharing the link you sent us?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat. Okay, yes. Thank you.
It's a permalink. It's already gone out live as well. So let me just spare me a second.
Yeah, so the link that Unduku is going to put in the group chat is basically the data that was collected by the Dataconomist, because that's what it does. It speaks with numbers. So basically, you can actually check the numbers in terms of everything that they're pointing to and what they're talking about in terms of what's going on in South Africa. The numbers are there to back it up. So there's so much misinformation and lies that these guys are putting out there. So the numbers basically say. So basically, that the challenge facing South Africa today is not illegal immigration. It's beyond that. And the numbers are there to back it up, even though they're focusing on illegal immigration. But the challenge is not illegal. Like Khanyisile has actually said that. It's not illegal immigration. It's basically the system that's failing. So yeah, just check the link out and just make your minds up. And we should be back again to talk about that probably at a different date. Okay, final words from you guys.
Okay, yes. So, as you can see, the crime and immigration in South Africa.
Let me put it up.
It looks at, yes, it looks at where it asks the question. Obviously, it tells us what the data shows and what it cannot show. I think that's the core of it. Yeah. Now it's broken down by financial year. So you've got the period of 1011 to the year 24-25 financial year. So it goes from 2010-2011 to 2024-2025. So, but we're going to focus this presentation on 2024-25. Now, as we can see, the South African population for 2025 is about 65 million, if I just round that up. And yeah, so another thing is the core statistics, so the crime statistics of this particular data set comes from the South African Police Service. So these are the reports that they put out quarterly, and they have annualized versions as well. So I've just taken that data set and done a critical analysis, of that data set against other data sources that we have around international migration, where most criminal is that there's not a lot of, or should I say, the South African Police Service data is not broken down by immigration. So it doesn't have a category that says or shows the number of crimes committed by immigrants. Now, the question I asked when I saw that is, why doesn't it have that category? Okay, and I would draw a personal conclusion that it probably doesn't have a category that shows crimes committed by immigrants is because the crimes are infinitesimal, as in very negligible. They don't add any serious data to the overall outcomes of the data set. Okay, so now there's within the police data set, you've got they have a crime data set category called 17 community reported serious crimes. Now that figure for 2025 is showing up as 1 million, just over, well, about 1.5 million for that year. And that is a fall from the previous year, a fall of 5.3%. Okay. Now, within the crime data sets, you also have other labels. So the contact crimes by aggravated robbery subcategories. And I've not changed anything within the data set. I have not derived any labels. I've just taken everything as it is from the data set, so that if anybody wants to go onto the South African Police Services website and collect the data, it will be like for like. If they want to do any comparisons, it will be the same data sets they are looking at, right? So you've got all these crime data set categories: contact crime, sexual offenses, contact-related crime, other serious crime, police action detected crime. So these are crimes that were actually detected, by the police being proactive rather than reactive. Then you've got property-related crime. So if I select, let's say, sexual offenses. So contact crime, sexual offenses, for instance, right? Sorry, my computer is a little bit slow. Spare me a second. Okay. So that has filtered the category into attempted sexual offenses, contact sexual offenses, rape, and sexual assault. And you can then flip through these categories. So attempted sexual offenses, you have 2,473 for the financial year 2024-2025, and that is also a fall from the previous year. If we look at, sorry, my computer is doing a lot of work today, so it's a little bit slow. So, sorry. If we look at contact sexual offenses, you only have 781. Then you got rape, 40,000. We can see that that's quite high, but it's still a fall from the previous year. Then you've got sexual assaults. That's about just over 7,000 for the year, a fall of 1.8% over the previous year. Now, I've also brought in the 2024 migration statistics just to show the level of migration into South Africa. So if you look at the figure of 2.6 million as of 2024, as against a population of almost 65 million, that's a 4.1% representation of the population, which is quite small, very, very small you know, when you look at it against the population size. Okay, so if we, so using the portal, like I said, you can look at each category, yeah, and as you go through each category, it also gives you, you've got a rating per 100,000 population. So, for instance, the category where that's the active category right now is the contact sexual offenses. It's telling you that in relation to 100,000 people within the community, the rate is 1.2. So that's 1.2 of offenses out of 100,000 people, and that's up on the previous year by 0.1. Okay, so you can flick through, play around with these categories. You select another category. Let's see, contact crime. Let's select contact crime. So we've got murder, and it breaks down into other categories: assault with intent to inflict grievous bodily harm, attempted murder, common assaults, robbery with aggravating circumstances. So you can always select, you know, your categories and see some analytics around that specific category. Now we've got the population trend chart. That obviously gives you shows you the trend of South Africa's population between 2010 and 2025. You can see that it's increasing. If we go to now this total recorded serious crime trend is driven by sorry, my computer is just dragging here, is driven by the 17 community reported serious crime statistics. So that's the overall value between 2010 and 2025. It's a static graph. It just shows you the trend between 2010 and 2025 of reported serious crimes. Okay. Now, a very interesting chart here, or another very interesting chart here, is the population versus serious crime index. Now, this index is a representation of, or that shows, even though the population of South Africa is increasing, how does that relate to serious crime? And just looking at it visually, you can see that as the population increases, the serious crime reduces at the same, well, not at the same rate, but in the opposite direction.
So the population is the green line, and the crime is the purple line.
Yes, you can see population index.
So in fact, given your numbers, and correct me if I'm wrong, population increase is steady. Yes. And crime even drops significantly in, I'm not seeing this year here, but the third one in.
This is
the third year in.
20.
I can't see it because it's not legible to me.
Sorry, what's that? Which one?
So from the no, go back where you are.
Okay.
Where the dot is coming 1, 2.
Yes.
You see where there's a dip. That's a significant decrease in crime. Exactly.
Yes.
So in fact, crime is decreasing at a higher rate than population increase.
Yes.
Okay.
It is. It is. That's what it shows.
So they're not correlated, is what that data is telling us.
Yes, there's no correlation at all. And you can see from the serious reported crime trend, you can see how that obviously dips as well, on that chart. But let's select, let's see, contact crime. Let's look at contact crime. Sorry, mine. Yeah. Computer is a list. So yeah, so contact crime. Let's go down here. Yeah, so murder. So contact crime, the first selection there is murders. So if we look at murders, okay, murders are increasing. If you look at the murder trend here, So between 2011, and there was also a dip in 2021. What happened in 2021? Okay, maybe that was after COVID. That's probably why the crime dropped.
It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And we should
Very
look
interesting.
into
So
what that
because
would
of
mean.
COVID yeah. So post COVID, look at the way it just shot up. So between 2021 and 2024, you know, it took off before it started to drop again towards 2025. So let's look at another contact crime.
So here's the hilarious thing as you go through the numbers. So me, I'm a murderer and I'm a thief. I'm actually going to follow COVID restrictions. I'm going to stop murdering and thieving. Something is not making sense, but go on, brother.
Yes. So common robbery. You know, now that you even said it, you're a robber, right? So and look at it from 2011. You can see that it was kind of dropping. Then in 2020, you can see that drop. Obviously, that's COVID. Then from 2021 again, it starts to take off before it starts to dip towards 2025, between 2024 and 2025 again. You know, so these are very, very interesting numbers, you know. And like I've said, I mean, we can't go through everything today. It will be for our audience to
they can go
time. You can use your mobile desktop, you know, to just play around with the figures. And the most important thing here is we want feedback. You know, you can feedback to Nduku's channel, my channel, Oladele's channel, you know, and we'll be happy to respond.
Yeah.
Okay, but another thing, you know, another area that I like to, so we also break this down here. So for contact crime, you can see you know, statistics broken down here. Common assault, 29%, assault with intent to inflict, 27.3%, and so on and so forth. Yeah, you can play around with the filters at the top of the page, and you can see the breakdown.
Babajide, question I want to ask you just to finish this off. So basically, what this is telling us is the focus on South Africa is saying that the crime rate is basically driven by illegal immigration. What does this graph tell us?
Yes, it tells us it's not driven by illegal immigration because number one, we don't have those markers to tell us that. We don't have the evidence to tell us that, or to tell us the levels of immigrant crime within the community. And I've drawn a conclusion here anyway.
Because the graph should look the same if they were. The graph should look close to the same if they were related. Actually, the crime should be above the population line.
Exactly. Well, it won't actually meet. It won't. No, it won't be these at the same levels because the population numbers are quite higher than would be quite higher than the crimes. But what should happen is that they should be pointing in the same direction.
Yes.
So so basically the 2.6 million, that the international body UN DESA has quoted as being the total number of migrants into South Africa in 2024, because that's the number we're using. That number, obviously, all the 2.6 million can be criminals, right? So a percentage of that 2.6 million would be criminals. But when you look at their statistics, if the police had reported it and they were contributing significantly to crime, they would be doing the same trend as this population line here. Yeah, so the migration, the crime statistics for migrants, if there was any, should be the same direction, should be going in the same, moving in the same direction as this line here. Is that clear? Hello?
Yep. Yeah, we're here.
Yes.
So because we don't have that figure, we're not able to extrapolate it. So all I've been able to do is so you just before I move down the page, so you got tables here where you can draw comparisons. You can see how crime has evolved, year on year, whether it's dropping, whether it's falling. Yeah. Then you got location by province. So you can see here Gauteng province, for 21-22, which is the year that we have data for that we have data for is the highest. Then the police stations that reported the crimes, I've also ranked them too. Sorry, I'm just going down the
Sorry, Ndugu.
computer is frozen.
How could you expose me like that?
So you've got the you've got the rankings for the top stations as well. You can filter, you can sort, and you can obviously see the year-on-year count change and the recorded counts. Yeah. So most importantly, back down to my conclusion here. I'll just read through it.
Your conclusion here, please.
Yeah. So my conclusion is that the available public evidence does not establish a direct statistical correlation between recorded crime in South Africa and legal or illegal immigration. The strongest evidence-supported position is that the South African Police Service recorded crime data can show offense, time, and location patterns, while migration and organized crime sources provide context. Foreign and undocumented actors appear in specific organized crime markets, but current public data does not support treating legal or illegal immigration as the dominant measurable driver of national recorded crime. So the bottom line is that all the noise that the protesters were making were pointless. Had no evidence behind it at all. Them calling Nigerians criminals, drugs this, drugs that. Yes, there are loads of criminals. There are loads of foreign.
Let's see your face, bro.
Migrants. Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Just one second. My computer is so touchy at the moment. Bear with me.
No, your computer is overworked, and you're lucky she's still serving you.
It's overworking. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah. So looking at the protests, the ongoing or the protests that have been happening over the last many months, they're basically pointless because there's no evidence. I mean, I saw an interview with that Jacinta gave to a Nigerian channel where she was asked about the evidence. Where does she find the evidence? She didn't care about the evidence. She said she doesn't care about the evidence. She then cited some area of South Africa where there were empty properties and that these people work with the government to go and occupy those empty properties and use them as drug havens, etc. So I said, and the lady said, this is not a migrant issue. This is a government issue. If the criminals are conniving with government officials to go and occupy empty buildings, you can't blame Nigerians for that. You can't blame Mozambicans for that. You can't blame anybody for that. It's the government officials that you need to target. So I mean, I don't know if you guys have any.
I think we've said it all. Actually, we've said it all. But yeah,
we're done.
All right,
just Oladile quickly. The solution is our brothers and sisters in South Africa, both those who are South Africans and those who have come in, start working together. To the Nigerians who in your community, there are criminal entities, work with the South Africans to eliminate the criminal entities because those criminal entities are spoiling the situation for you. So understand that your well-being is tied to the South Africans' well-being, and you need to stop protecting criminal entities in your community and understand that they're jeopardizing everyone else's well-being. And if we all start operating like this as African people, wherever we are, in the United States, wherever we are, we check the criminal entities in our communities. We check those who are kidnapping kids. We take care of them all together, and we build the communities we want to see. Then we're going to be in a much better place. And as we do that also, because we can chew gum and walk at the same time, we eliminate the bigger forces that are creating these vices in our communities and that are financing the vices and the divisions in our communities. Thank you.
Okay, my final words will be based on what Mama Khanyisile has actually said. And Africans, man, we need to stop running from our countries. The entities that they created for us, we need to stop running. We need to stay back and fix. And this is the only way we can actually deal or confront. You know, it's so easy for us to run away to these places, but we keep going to other countries. We need to fix our continent. We need to fix our country. And we can only do this collectively. Let's basically hold people who you put in government, hold them accountable. Because running away from our country to other places is expensive, as we can all see. It's very expensive. In as much as I'm for free African movement all over the continent, because obviously the only reason we've got restrictions is because of the colonial borders. But the entities the enclaves that they created, we need to fix it. We need to stay back and fight to make sure our continent is good. When every African country is good, then we can basically have respect and dignity for each other. There will be no disrespect. But when one is better than the other, supposedly through the Western paradigm, you know, that's why basically we're having these little squabbles. So guys, we need to fix. We need to stay back and fix. Somebody was talking about Japa. Japa is basically a colonial thing. It's an miseducation thing. You know, coming abroad, at the end of the day, you just basically fit in the system. You're not really contributing to the system because they're just using you. Anyways, that's for another day. But guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being patient with us. Okay.
Yeah. So let me just give my own final word, and it's I think it's going to sort of mirror what Oladele has said, and the only reason I want to mirror what he has said is because for the past 15 to 20 years, I have always told my circle, people around me, that Africans, Nigerians specifically of my age group, shouldn't have left Nigeria in the 90s. Right? Mama Khanyisile, Mama Khanyisile.
We shouldn't have.
She just hit the nail on the head. Okay? Now, because if we hadn't have left, the fight that we're still fighting today would have been fought. And yes, some of us, like Mama Khanyisile has said, would have died. Yes, but we would have died for a cause, and our names will be on the walls today, saying yes, Babajide, Ojejinmi, Oladele, Dosumu fought for Nigeria. They fought for what we have today. Now we're having to fight that fight, like Unduku has said. Yes, let's go back and fight that fight. Yes, some people will be watching us now and say, oh yeah, but you guys are in New York, you guys are in London. Oh yes, we are here. But guess what? We are awake now. We are awake. We know what to do. We know what this place is all about. I mean, they are very, very patriotic. So should we. We should be very patriotic as well and take that patriotism home and do exactly what Unduku has said. All the people that are within government that are assisting the people that are ruining the economies must be taken out. And I'm not saying taken out in terms of, you know, whatever. You can read it anyway.
By any means necessary.
Read it anyway.
Necessary is the key word.
Yes, because there are people within government who are aiding and abetting the ones that are damaging the system, the ones that are stopping Pan-Africanism from coming to the fore. We need to emulate the spirit of the AES guys, the spirit of Sankara, specifically. Yes. And that's the only way we can move forward. We need to fight, and we need to start fighting now. The same way when David Cameron came to power many, many years ago, that David Cameron is in my generation, were born around the same time. So you're telling me that a child born today in 2026 will be looking 26 years ahead is going to be better than a child that was born at the same time, will now become prime minister and now be dictating things over Nigeria? I think we need to wake up. We need to wake up. And I'll leave it at that.
We need to wake up is a great ending point. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much, guys. So thanks our community. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for basically being part of us. We're about liberating the mind and thinking differently, because these kind of conversations you're not going to get anywhere else. I can assure you that. You're not going to get it.
To those who woke up early like me, thank you so much, because it's a struggle. Go on, brother.
Thank you very much. And what we'd like you to do is please subscribe to our channels. The Kumbukeni, the Dataconomist, Imagine Alkebulan. Please subscribe to channels. Let's grow. Let's basically share this content, because this is the kind of revolutionary content that a lot more people need to listen to, because this is the only way we can wake ourselves up to action. And that's why we do this. We'll see you next Sunday. We're back with another one. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.